You will drown in eternal night.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another Mortal Kombat mobile character review. Today we are taking a closer look at Klassic Sonya Blade. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it and see what this character is all about. Klassic Sonya Blade is part of the Spec Ops class and her passive is called Armor Piercing. Sonya's neutralized special 1 attack deals damage to the entire enemy team and breaks their shields. Also, all Spec Ops on her team ignore enemy toughness. Klassic Sonya Blade was introduced with update 1.9 during the MKX mobile days and has always been a challenge character. She was maxed out with level 50 and Fusion 7, and also her passive has never changed since back then. In the old store she was available for 400 souls, but also available in the challenge pack and recently in several other packs where you can obtain Klassic Sonya Blade. In the new store her price was raised to 450 souls, and after the general level cap was raised, she was maxed out with level 60 and Fusion 10. Sonya's gear piece is the military vest and it gives you 35% max health boost, 20% self-heal at the end of special attack 3 or X-ray/fatal blow attack, and 50% opponent critical hit chance reduction. In terms of her feats of strength, she will have to perform 2000 special 1 attack to unlock her rune. For her victory stances she has to win 750 matches in faction wars. For her taunts she has to win 500 matches in battle mode. For her icons she has to perform 3000 combo enders. For her backgrounds she will have to perform 250 X-ray/fatal blow attacks. And for her titles she has to perform 1500 special 2 attacks. And now we are going to take a closer look at all the victory stances one by one, starting with Double Down. Next up we have No Chance. Third we have 10 Hot. And exclusive for Klassic Sonya Blade only, Kiss of Death. And on your victory screen it will look like this. Now I'm going to show you all of her backgrounds. Next up we have the icons. And finally the titles. Klassic Sonya Blade only has one combo ender, but luckily this one is very easy to change, so even If you go into two different strings, the same combo ender can come out on both of them in a row. It leaves the opponent on their feet, which makes it ideal for follow-up attacks. Her special 1 attack is called Neutralized and it has a shield break debuff tied to it. When unblocked, this attack deals damage to the entire opponent team and it is also capable of KOing your opponent. Her special attack too is called American Way and it has a slow debuff tied to it. This high damage attack is not only nice to look at, but also deals a very solid amount of damage and also is capable of knocking out your opponent. Also worth a mention is that it does not transition over to your next opponent, which means that you cannot knock out one opponent with the first part of the special 2 and finish him with the second. Unfortunately, that does not work. Her X-Ray is called Special Forces and it has a shield buff tied to it. This shield will protect you from incoming damage from other special attacks and even X-Rays. And just as with all other Sonya Blade characters we have currently in the game, the X-Ray animation is identical with all of them. As already mentioned, the Neutralized Special 1 attack deals damage to the entire team, and here you can see that effect in action every time I perform the Special 1 attack. You see that the entire team takes damage, here around 6k. Let's do that again and watch the icons of my opponents. Here we have another 6.7k, and in case one of the characters would have a shield, that would be broken. So now it's time to recommend some gear, and at first I would recommend Sonya's military vest, not only because of the health buff, but also the critical hit chance reduction is quite nice. And you might have noticed when you are facing Sonya Blade characters, sometimes it takes a lot of damage to take down just one Sonya Blade, and that is mainly because people tend to play her with her military vest. To amplify this piece of gear and make her even tougher and more resistible, you can choose to go for the T800 Endoskeleton. This piece of gear may not have toughness as a feature, but it also gives a health buff, and if you combine that with the health boost that you already got from the military vest, Sonya Blade becomes a tough cookie to take down. Since her special 1 attack does not deal that much of damage, of course you could choose to go with something like Datusha Bane of the Moroi, but I would actually go for the Devastator, because it will give you actually a 50% damage boost on your special ones, and using Klassic Sonya Blade as your starting character is not a bad idea at all. To get a block breaker on your special attack, then go for Moloch's Ball and Chain. Because with this piece of equipment you don't only have to focus on special 1 attacks, but you can also expand that to her very great special 2, which we already established to deal a high amount of damage, and with Moloch's Ball and Chain you have the chance to hit lethal attacks and also to get special attacks free by chance. Now my last recommendation is more of a what-if scenario, and that would be Smuggler's Luck. Unfortunately, I was not able to get this gear piece as of yet, but just looking at what it does to special 1 attacks by increasing the damage each time you perform a special 1 attack, and that stacks up to 5 times. So if you really want to focus on special 1 attacks with Sonya Blade and are lucky enough to have Smuggler's Luck, to me that sounds just like a logical choice. Next up we have the character recommendations, and again, balance Kenshi for a 1 bar of power for each Spec Ops teammate. And Balance Kenshi is not only fun to play, but is always so useful each time you play Spec Ops. And in case of Sonya Blade, you can directly start with a special one in case you need to disable ice shields, for example by the Cold War team. So Balance Kenshi is a great choice to go with in any case. The same goes for Demolition Sonya Blade with her 30% attack boost that she gives to all Spec Ops teammates. She is basically an increased Wrath Hammer for your team, minus the 1 bar of power of course, but therefore you would have already Balance Kenshi. Now another interesting thing, since her passive is cancelling the toughness of your opponents completely, how about you buff your own toughness by using heavy weapons jacks in your team? And besides just delivering some extra toughness for your Spec Ops teammates, you would also have 2 characters who can deal damage to the entire opponent team, tagged in or not. For some extra health, I would just recommend A-list Johnny Cage. This might not only provide a second power drainer or a second potential power drainer in case you play Balance Kenshi as well, but you would also have this extra health boost which makes Sonya Blade even tougher to take down, especially when she is using her military vest in combination with the T800 gear plus the 30% from A-list. Sonya Blade would almost become a goddess. But the clear winner in my book, and that's probably a no-brainer to most of you, that would be Covered Ops Cassie Cage, who delivers this block-breaking passive to all of your Spec Ops teammates, which means that you don't even need block-breaking equipment such as Moloch's Ball and Chain, or even basic block breakers like the Bladed Fans, Cento Blade, Rusty Chainsaw, revolvers, whatever is out there. Cassie Cage would have that built in just by being in your team, and all your special attacks basically can break up the block of your opponents. Of course you would have the downside of Centaurian defense in case your opponent is using that perk from the talent tree, but let's face it, even in that case, that team with Covered Ops Cassie Cage would be absolutely stunning and always fun to play. Despite being a quite old card by now, Klassic Sonya Blade is still a very solid challenge character. And in any case, it will be absolutely worth it to play the challenge, to obtain her cards and fuse her as high as possible. I am a little bit disappointed that the special 1 attack does not deal that much damage to the entire opponent team, and that shield break passive kind of has become a little bit obsolete now that Cold War Sonya Blade is mainly providing the ice shield to Cold War team members and no longer to any other character you play with her like it was before. Before we had Sonya Blade in the team and every character had that ice shield until it was broken by a special attack. Now non-Cold War team members lose that shield after 6 seconds, which kind of makes Sonya Blade not that incredible anymore. And that's all NetherRealm's fault. But now it's time for the pros and cons again, and my first pro is the good chaining of her basic attacks. She's without a doubt a very solid fighter, and also every time you execute a combo ender, both of her special attacks are quite safe to connect after that combo ender hit, so the chaining has to be mentioned. My second pro is the high damage special 2. I don't really care that much for the slow effect that comes with it. Of course I don't mind that it's there, but mainly the special 2 is already capable of knocking out your opponent anyway, so in most cases you will not even get to the part to enjoy her slowdown abilities. My third and final pro is of course the Ice Shield Breaker. Even though I just told you guys about how disappointed I am that NetherRealm changed that passive of Cold War Sonya Blade to take away this great feature from all other characters, and just putting this benefit on Cold War team members has changed the game significantly, because before you have seen tons of players using Cold War Sonya Blade in almost every team, and now she is really rarely played unless people play the Cold War team. So for Classic Sonya Blade, that means that there are not that many shields to break anymore. Even though it might be a pro, it's kind of a sad one. But then let's jump directly into the cons, and my first con, I have to be really honest here, and that is her design. I place Classic Sonya Blade so rarely because I absolutely don't like her look at all. To me, this looks just like one of these 80s housewives who are dressing up in their aerobic dress to jump along to weird VHS tapes, and I don't see that kind of military vibe. And instead she could just borrow this outfit to one of those hair metal bands from the 80s, like Poison or Cinderella for example, and they would be very grateful to have these kind of spandex clothes. My next con is that she feels kind of a little boring in terms of gameplay. Her movements are serviceable, and they also can deal a good amount of damage if you are playing it with the correct gear and use the right special attacks at the right moment. But there is not really that much of a visual highlight to it, and not even with her iconic energy rings she provides on Special 2, she creates that much of a looker. And the biggest con, of course, the little damage that she deals to the entire enemy team. And I think that is mainly the problem, since Cold War Sonya Blade does not provide the ice shields anymore. Her passive kind of relies on dealing damage to the entire team and maybe ignoring the toughness of your opponents. So to balance that out, dealing damage to the entire enemy team would be the really important part, and that one is everything but incredible. So then now it's time to give a final rating for Classic Sonya Blade, and I would say I am giving her still a 7 out of 10. She is quite good in faction wars, and you can absolutely demolish teams when playing her, mainly when you put the focus on Special 2 fighting styles. So all in all, she is good but not incredible. But yeah, that was Classic Sonya Blade in a nutshell for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this little character review. But what about you guys? How do you like Classic Sonya Blade? Have you obtained her in the latest challenge? Do you play her often? Do you also have a problem with the design? Please let me know, and we will see each other very soon again. Thank you for tuning in once again, and as usual, I will be back with the next video very soon. Until then, you can choose one of the 2 videos that are up here right now. Please like, comment and subscribe. And also don't forget to click the bell notification icon so you will be informed every time when I upload a new video. Take care, Casey over and out for today.